Parental rights in education continues to be a point of contention between school boards, teachers, politicians, parents, and students. Who ultimately has the final say when it comes to our kids? Are our children being given the best environment and tools needed to excel? Joining us to chat about it from Lethbridge to tackle some of the issues is Jeff Park. He's the Executive Director of the Alberta Parents Union. Jeff, welcome to Bridge City News.
Thanks for having me, Hal.
Now, first of all, can you explain to our viewers what your organization is really all about?
Absolutely. The Alberta Parents Union came out of the uh, response really to parents learning over the course of the pandemic and Zoom school and so forth. Parents got a good hard look at what was going on and what was failing to go on in their children's education. And parents can't unsee what they saw during those days, and it's led to a lot more activism, a lot more uh, parents wanted to get involved because we recognize that parents are the real experts in their own kids. There may be people more expert in curriculum design or in teaching a certain subject or in a certain kind of pedagogy than we are as parents, which is why it's totally fine for us to hire those people to help us with our kids. But there's no one more expert in my 8, 6, 5, and 3-year-old than me, except on her very best days, their mother. And so we know that parents are the real experts in their own kids, so we don't want to have a system where we're certainly excluding parents or lying to parents, hiding information from parents, and that's the real motivation behind our organization more than anything else.
Jeff, I see that you're in the midst of a back-to-school tour here in Southern Alberta. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Absolutely. So we're going to be in Picture Butte at the Picture Butte Community Center from 6 to 8 p.m. on Monday, September 16th. We're going to be in Red Cliff at the Red Cliff Youth Center, uh, just outside Medicine Hat, uh, and on September 17th. That's a Tuesday from 6 to 8 p.m. also. And then we're going to be right here in Lethbridge at the German Canadian Club. That's on Wednesday, September 18th from 6 to 8 p.m. We're going to be in Nanton at Nanton Baptist Church on Monday, September 23rd from 6 to 8 p.m. And we're going to be in High River at the Shepherd Family Park on that's Tuesday, September 24th from 6 to 8 p.m. And all of those events are totally free. Anyone's welcome to come, but we would ask that you go to albertaparentsunion.ca/events and RSVP because it does cost us money to put them on, and we'd like to know how many people are coming, how many to prepare for, and it's also obviously we will happily accept donations towards the cost of these events. But really, the idea is to get out there and hear from parents directly as we're getting back to school with new policy announcements, uh, and we're a year out from school board elections on October 25th or October 20th, 2025. We'll have new school board elections, and we do find that school board is sort of the order of government that parents need the most help understanding what goes on and how things are working out at the school board level. So we're obviously happy to answer those questions as well.
Now, Jeff, can you update us on the ongoing debate over students changing their pronouns or names, transitioning genders, sex education, and informing parents about all of these things?
Absolutely. So we did get an announcement from Daniel Smith on January 31st that that in Alberta we will uh, be having parents having to consent for a child to change their name or pronouns at school uh, up up until age 16, and even for 16 and 17-year-old children, parents will have to be informed. So schools will not no longer be able to have policies of keeping these things secret from parents, which was the majority, the vast majority actually, of Alberta school boards currently have such a policy. And so I shouldn't say was, it still is the case because while the announcement happened on January 31st uh, of this year, the there have been no actual policy changes or implementation yet. Now we've been assured that we will see all of that in law, in policy, in regulation uh, by the time of the UCP AGM and the leadership review of Danielle Smith, and I would hazard to say that her fidelity and delivering on what she promised on these issues will probably be the deciding factor in how well she does in that leadership review on November 2nd.
Now, Jeff, parents are quite concerned over what's being taught in our schools, and not necessarily the curriculum itself, but apparently school boards and principals as well. Now, you've expressed concern that individual teachers are allegedly being allowed to bring in all sorts of extra content into the classrooms that maybe falls outside of the official curriculum. Can you explain?
That's right. So the Alberta curriculum is what, and I think a lot of folks in Alberta get U.S. news, and when they say curriculum in the U.S., they're talking about something set by a school board, and we're talking about a lot more content and the actual books that are being used and all that kind of thing. When we use the word curriculum in Canada, we mean what Americans tend to call standards. The state standards is what they would call them in the U.S. states, and so it's really a lot less detailed, and that is set by the province. And really, there is no sexual orientation or gender identity content in that. There's not really that much that raises parents' concern at that level. Obviously, we engage on the curriculum as well, and we're looking for improvements on the curriculum as well. But for the most part, that's not where parents really direct their ire. It really is more at these outside materials that are brought in. And just for a few examples, um, we know that the Alberta Teachers Association's library has a wide range of resources uh, for teachers that are informed by critical race theory, and they promote them all the time. We know that St. Albert Public Schools quietly introduced a 2S LGBTQIA plus course for junior high. Uh, they did consult on that course and had it developed by the newest senator from Alberta, Chris Wells, but they did not consult parents on any of this material. And there's a Canadian company called Less Plan um, that sells pre-built lesson plans, and some of them talk about the health and environmental benefits of eating crickets, for instance, or they'll put an ideological spin on the events at the United States Capitol building on January 6, 2021. So this is a Canadian company making material for Canadian school children, but it's very much influenced by those U.S. political controversies. Um, and and then we know that many principals require teachers to include a climate emphasis week, sometimes without informing parents, and include that in all the classrooms. We know that the Alberta Teachers Association has a recommended resource that says that the real problem, the real reason that there is a climate crisis, and the real reason that we're not going to be able to get over it until we get over the idea that there is such a thing as private property. They say private property is the real problem that's causing the climate crisis. And then finally, we know that the ATA also developed the PRISM toolkit. That's PRISM, like the thing that turns white light into a rainbow, which gives specific lesson plans to teach about human sexuality while evading the requirement to inform parents. Fortunately, the Alberta government has listened to our concerns about that and our petition on this topic, and all the concerns that our parents have brought to the Alberta government. And now these outside materials, if they touch on human sexuality, or so not all of these issues, but if they touch on human sexuality, uh, sexual orientation, or gender identity, the ministry will have to approve those materials before they're allowed to be used in the classroom. We would like them to take it one step further and address a lot of these ideological issues, but also we would like them to put this more in the hands of parents. If you're going to have ministry review anyway, then it's very easy to just assign a number to this and have teachers, principals, individual schools let parents know, here's the catalog of things we're using in your kid's class, so that you can have some insight into the kinds of ideological materials that are making it into the kids' class.
So, Jeff, you've made a number of claims here regarding the outside materials, and do you have substantial proof as well?
Absolutely, yes. So,
Mhm.
the Prism toolkit you can look up online. There's a elementary education version and there's a high school version. The Alberta Teachers Association promotes it widely. They're very proud of it. And as far as anything else, these are all easily accessible, easily proved uh, things that we can absolutely point to. We know are coming into the classrooms. We know are being, in many cases, encouraged to be brought into the classrooms by the Alberta Teachers Association, which does, after all, uh, it is supposed to be the organization licensing teachers and suggesting whether a teacher should have their license pulled and all that kind of thing. So that does exert some influence into the kinds of resources that teachers use, for
So if
sure.
parents have a lot of concerns, where should they really voice those concerns?
Absolutely. So you can always have a conversation with the individual classroom teacher, with the principal, but uh, and if you voice your concerns with a trustee, they will often point you to another bureaucrat in the school division that they're going to say is sort of more responsible for that decision. But we encourage, if you have a real issue with the kinds of things that are coming into the classroom, with the sorts of policies that are being set at the school board level, even if the trustees claim that they're not really setting those policies, you should always go to your trustee because your trustee is the one that you can fire, frankly, and you can't fire the other educrats between the trustees and the teachers, and you can't fire the teacher. Um, the only person that you have any influence over is your trustee. So we always encourage people, go to your trustee, bring everything through them, even if they're going to send you to someone else. Make sure to do that. And we'll remind people that your opportunity to fire your trustee is coming up on October 20th of 2025. And it would be useful to have someone who does want to support parents, grandparents, taxpayers, and not be quite so beholden to the educrats if that is the thing that's bothering you in your school.
So Jeff, where are we at when it comes to Alberta students learning how to read? I understand that there are some concerns about the methods being used to really teach basic reading skills. Tell me more about that.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, as of 2022, we know we we know for sure that some things have changed in a positive direction since then, but we haven't gotten a real strong number since 2022 on the sorts of resources that are being used. And we know that at that time, uh, it was 55.7% of responding Alberta school authorities were using the the same resource, the Fountas and Pinnell set of resources for student assessment and intervention, and and those resources are widely discredited throughout the English-speaking world. The Fountas and Pinnell benchmark assessment system, for instance, uh, successive studies have shown that it is no better and actually worse than flipping a coin at identifying the students that actually struggle with reading so that we can get them more help. Um, but then even worse, the kind of help that is brought in that intervention, studies have shown is actually worse than no intervention whatsoever. And this was being widely used. Fortunately, places like Calgary, the Calgary Board of Education, have finally responded to the abysmal track record of these resources and have promised to fully de-implement the Fountas and Pinnell system. But we look through the education plans for a lot of school boards and still see the Fountas and Pinnell benchmark assessment system. We still see those interventions. We still see them spending quite a bit on professional development to have teachers. It's $3,300 a day per teacher to have teachers taught this system that we know is worse than doing nothing. And so that's a great concern of us and our parents, especially for parents, obviously, whose kids do struggle reading, whether that be because of dyslexia or uh, or because of other learning disabilities, or just because they were never taught. And unfortunately, the Fountas and Pinnell system, one of the reasons it's so damaging is it actually sort of teaches kids to fake an ability to read instead of learning to read. It teaches kids the skills that poor readers use to cover up for their inability to read, rather than teaching them to focus on the letters. So that's the ideology behind Fountas and Pinnell, and these other three queuing is the term for it. Systems. There are others active in Alberta, but Fountas and Pinnell is the big one. Other three queuing systems. The idea there's this ideology that you don't want to look at the letters to learn what the word says. You want to look at the greater context of the sentence and all this stuff. And when the sentences get longer and the pictures go away, kids are no longer able to fake it quite so much as they are in the earlier grades. And we know that if kids don't learn to read by grade 3, on average, most kids, if they don't learn to read by grade 3, they never will. Um, so it's a really damaging thing to have this placebo effect, if you will, where kids seem like they know how to read until they start getting to the very grades where it may be too late to help them with their reading ability.
Jeff Park is the executive director of the Alberta Parents Union. Jeff, thanks so much for your time today.
Thanks so much.